Hey everyone, so today I wanted to go ahead and introduce you to Monster Universe. This is a brand new Monster Hunter Stories type rip-off game that is set to release onto mobile devices in Japan. There's been a lot of buzz happening for this specific game, and I certainly wanted to go ahead and cover it since it's just pretty much blatant what they're trying to do. But at the same time, in mobile devices, there's pretty much almost no rules. You can pretty much do whatever it is that you want and release a game that is pretty much ripping off all the ideas of another previous game. So I'm going to be leaving, first and foremost, a link in the description below for their official trailer links so you guys can check it out if you so desire. They might be posting more updates there in the future, so of course, tune in for that if you're interested. And I'm also going to be leaving a link in the description below for the original 4gamer.net article in Japanese, which originally where the information came out. Plenty of screenshots. I'm going to be overlaying those in the video in a little bit after the trailers kind of like run. And you should be seeing a bunch of like brand new things that will remind you of Monster Hunter Stories 2, because that's what literally this game is trying to do. They are not necessarily being very apologetic about it. They are certainly taking a little bit of a monster taming idea, monster battling idea, monster catching idea, kind of like Pokemon in a sense, but they are certainly taking it, leaning it more towards Monster Hunter, which is what really, I think really caught my eye when it came to that. So first and foremost, you're gonna have just buddies you're gonna be able to tame. You're gonna have a monster that you're gonna be able to grab with you. A lot of them are gonna seem very similar to like Monster Hunter type of monsters that we already have in the game, in the series, in the franchise. A lot of them very much look like the baby versions of them. Those are gonna be relatively obvious when you see them in the trailer or in the screenshots. Then of course you have the fact that you can tame and like kind of pick up a few of them, bring them on. They can be united. Different types of them will be united, and then they can essentially hatch brand new eggs. This is something that Stories did, pretty much at great lengths. Each one of them are going to have abilities, skills. You can kind of like mix and match, essentially try to have the best of both worlds. Both monsters, maybe they're different elements, you can combine them, have a brand new different element. This is something that they showcase in the trailer a little bit. And then on top of that, of course, you have like action combat. So this is one of the biggest probably gripes that people have with Monster Hunter Stories and Stories 2, that they were like turn-based with a like rock paper scissors kind of idea, but this one is action based because it's a mobile game and you cannot necessarily have turn-based combat in mobile games. People just tune the hell out really quickly, so you need to have people tapping on the screen, and that's usually what mobile games are all about. So therefore this one needed to be action based, which I think does play into the game's favor. The combat doesn't necessarily seem all that deep. It's all pretty much take advantage of the elemental weaknesses and things like of that nature, but of course you do have a lot of tapping involved, as most mobile device games have. At the same time, of course, you have, because it's a Japanese mobile game, you have plenty of gacha availability there. And this is where the characters come in. So you don't necessarily make a character. Each character has, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star versions of themselves. They are kind of like the trainers. Each trainer has a specific type that they will be advantageous of. So you want to be able to pick a trainer, kind of like, I guess, Genshin Impact, if you will. I think that's the most obvious example that we can use of like just character-driven star, elemental value, benefits to a specific encounter, specific battle, maybe up to a specific map that you're going to go up against, and certainly have the monsters, roster laying out so they could be benefited from that specific trainer's kind of like elemental focus or elemental boosts that they have. Now, one of the things that they originally showcased a lot in the like original review article is that riding your monsters is kind of like a thing that they're certainly leaning on a lot. They specifically mentioned in the article that you are kind of exploring a solitary island with a distant sea, and various monsters will be, coming available as you kind of like progress and discover. And as you're trying to discover this guardian dragon called Valstrax, essentially, as I believe is how it translates, and these magical beasts as well. So you are trying to like kind of take down these elementals, very much Pokemon-ish in that regard, but with the understanding that you're riding these monsters, you're making buddies, you're making them more powerful, you're merging them with other ones, and that is kind of like how you progress. There is a main character. She's called Fina. She's a girl who's very like active, loves the monsters themselves. She loves befriending them. She loves making more friends. But at the same time, you will have full control over the characters as well, like I mentioned before, with like the whole gacha star systems type of a thing. They do specifically mention that there will be plenty of field exploration, and that it's an action RPG. So of course, we're full on action combat. Monsters can be written, summoned, traded, evolved, paired up, and matching compatibility will of course benefit you as well. They do specifically mention that based on like your hunters or ability, or like characters' main abilities like sword, axes, spears, staves, some of the monsters that you subsequently equip to your party, those will be also benefited based on the main weapon. Although I don't necessarily remember seeing much of that in the just raw gameplay trailers, because they are usually just riding the monsters to fight other monsters. So I'm not necessarily sure where the weapons of the trainer, I guess, come in, or the hunter come in. I'm not necessarily sure about that. Later as well in the original article, they did mention that the developers originally had considered not putting gacha into the game, but of course, because this is a highly requested feature is what they said, they ended up adding it to it. There is some sort of like progression with the characters, where like if you don't necessarily get like a 5-star character, you can level up the ones that you currently have up to 5-star, presumably if you get copies of themselves. This is what usually mobile device games tend to do. If you get copies of the same character, you can kind of like spend them and eventually boost one from 3-star to 5-star. There are 2-star characters as well, which is really weird. I kind of thought they got rid of that, but 3 to 5 I believe is what I've seen in most games. But regardless, that is what they're trying to do. They do specifically also mention that there is a gamepad support for like PC. This game will be appearing on PC as well, so there will be having some sort of like gamepad support in the future, where on the PC version of the game, you'll be able to use a controller. You don't necessarily need to be tied to the mobile version of the game. But of course, now with most PCs, you can like run semi pseudo emulated mobile device apps on your computer, and most people use controllers as it is. So that shouldn't necessarily be that much of a problem. But of course, if you're still going to be locked in playing on your phone, then most likely that is still going to be a tapping game. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys for Monsters Universe. Certainly caught my eye that they are trying to do Monster Hunter stories in a more gacha, I guess, leaning way. But of course, that is the audience that they are targeting at the end of the day. I don't necessarily know, and they don't mention in this article or even in their website, if this will be coming available worldwide or an English version will be available at a later date. They don't necessarily provide any details for that, but it's certainly interesting to see just how far they wanted to go. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.